So here we have a TV which is about 5 generations old. Has some advantages though, but um, certainly with the surround sound and perhaps DirecTV and um, a Blu-ray, etc., it might be a little bit difficult to figure it out. So let's try to see what it takes. So there are 3 remotes, and there is actually a power sequence that's important because DirecTV has some digital rights management, and therefore they have to know that the whole series of equipment that you're using is not meant to be copying some data. So the first thing to do is to start with the TV, and that's what we're going to do. And the next one will be to power up the audio system. And then finally, when all this is successful, we'll just have to use DirecTV. So on that TV remote, there are 2 things. One is to make sure that you're talking to the TV. You have to press that. And then obviously, let's try to switch on the power. And if that didn't work, you would have to reset something behind. I'll show you in a second. But right now it has worked because the green light is on. I was just saying you may have to reset. That happens pretty rarely, but that switch back there, that would kind of reset the whole system. I guess unnecessary normally. So we have a green light. That's a good sign. Let's look at what the menu is. Sometimes the cleaning lady has been around and messed up the input, so you may have to go into that input here and then select OK, and then using those guys to move the menu, select the following inputs. So it has to be on STB. So let me show you. I'm taking, of course, a little more time than it would be necessary. So I'm pressing that input now, and something, very difficult to read, something comes up. So I say OK, and then it disappeared, but that can happen. So, and then I can do OK, and so there is this thing here. So with the arrow that I showed, we can select HDMI 1 for the set-top box. So that's what we have. 2, we power up the audio amplifier. At the moment it is not on, as you can tell. So as usual, that remote has multiple functions, so the power is that. However, you want to be sure that you're talking to the receiver. So we press that first, and then you can turn that on. And now for the DirecTV, you need to select number 3, which is Game TV. So you'll press that, and that'll ensure that it's set up correctly on the input side. So last, we're going to power up the DirecTV, and it's fairly simple. That's just this particular button there, and we should be hearing or seeing something. So prior to power on that DirecTV box, I just want to point out, make sure that the red light is on here. So that means that the PlayStation is off. And for you who have wondered what this thing is, it's an HDMI switch, and the reason is there's only 1 port left alive on the HDMI of the TV, so we have to use this switch. And the red light points to the source, which in this case is HDMI 5, and so that's what we want. So now we can turn this on if you're not already afraid. So we have music, that's a good sign, and we have some sort of a menu, so that's good. So we have achieved that, and we can certainly change that and go to our favorite movies, for example, etc. All right. Okay, so we're in business. To summarize, the input on the TV has to be on HDMI 2. Audio box has to be on Game TV, which is button number 3. DirecTV has to be on, of course. So I guess tonight we're not blessed by any great movies, so we're going to try something a little more challenging. We're going to play with the PlayStation. So we power everything off and see what it takes. So as usual, we start with the TV. Then we have to only change the channel on that audio by pressing number 6 going to DVD, and that should do it. And finally we turn on the PlayStation. Notice that the HDMI switch switched the red light to HDMI 1, so that is correct. And we have now the PlayStation. Time to dig up the fourth remote. So on this one, I guess there's nothing spectacular about it, but we'll just put a DVD in it and then choose the selection for the audio. This is where you could do the streaming. In fact, the PlayStation is connected to the router, so you can directly through a wireline, so you can do a lot of things here. You may have to enter your account for Amazon or Netflix. We're going to try our luck with the Requiem for Mozart. So all this looks promising. We're going to skip that. Like the Blu-ray, the DVDs, you have to choose using the top menu or the pop-up menu, etc. You have to choose the type of audio that you want. And on this particular DVD, this is under audio selection. So we select that, and we select DTS, which is probably the best. And now we can play. And yeah, I guess we can play the Requiem. All right. So you can use the display button to see what audio rate, etc. come out, and that's actually quite useful here. So here you see that it's 1.5 megabit on the audio multi-channel, so which is of course beautiful. Not a particularly happy CD, I have to say, but concludes this little introduction. I hope it's useful and I hope you have better luck than my wife, but all right, good luck, enjoy. One more thing I forgot, make sure you turn off everything including the TV, because it's still plasma, and I guess otherwise there is a retention of images, etc. And of course, check that all the speakers are working, but they were so far. So that's it. Great, thanks a lot.